Welcome to Enlightened Evolution.
I'm Cay.
And I'm Christina.
We're here to discuss the ebb and flow of our soul's healing and transformation through self-reflection, choosing intentionally, honoring thyself, and following your inner guide.
Thank you for joining this safe space with us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Enlightened Evolution. We hope you are doing great this week. This week, we are going to be talking about when is it appropriate to remain friends with an ex. We'll look at it from multiple different points of views, different situations as well. Cay, how are you doing today?
I am here today. I started reading this book, which I am so excited when we do our show on menstrual cycles, because I tell you, I'm going to be planning the rest of my life revolving around my cycle.
That is awesome. And I need to start that book as well. But I've seen a lot of things about planning your menstrual cycle around, like, your life around your menstrual cycle, but mine doesn't, like, it is pretty consistent, but, like, do they offer in that book, like, for people that maybe their menstrual cycle is not consistent or
Oh,
no?
yeah. And
Okay,
yeah, and it's just
cool.
about honoring yourself as a woman, whether you still bleed or don't, or on birth control or not. It's such a beautiful book, and I just can't wait to talk about it. And I'm just on my menstrual cycle second day right now, so I'm thinking
It's
moving
on the
forward,
mind.
yeah, I'll be planning the rest of my life around my menstrual cycle for as long as that happens. But other than that,
Awesome.
you know how we feel when that happens. So it's just going to be an easygoing day. How are you?
I'm good. I am hoping to get outside today and do some outdoor activities.
Yeah, how warm is it there?
It's gonna be in the 60s. It started off cold
Nice.
this morning, but it's gonna be in the 60s and sunny, and that's the most important thing. I need to absorb the sunshine.
That's right. Yes. It's sunny
I am
here today too.
actively nice. I'm actively planning my trip to Michigan, so
Mm,
I'm
when are you
excited about that
coming?
in June.
Nice. Perfect time to come, as you know. I'm excited for that.
Yay! All right, well, let's dive into this topic. I think it's definitely it can be a controversial topic for sure.
For sure.
Do we want to start with just like as a single person in general remaining friends with an ex?
Yeah, let's do
And
that. Because I'm a single mom, I'll have to say, obviously, when it doesn't work out with the person that you've had children with, co-parenting, even if you're not friends per se, you still have to communicate with these people. And so just try to do that as gently and straight to the point as possible, as I've tried to do, and as many of you know, easier said than done.
absolutely.
Because sometimes these people that we get in relationships with, it's impossible for them not to be around us anymore. And when you leave amicably, it's just being platonic. If you can still be friendships in a platonic manner, I think it's hard though sometimes when one person still wants it or doesn't want it, and you still have to be surrounded by that person. If you're colleagues, of course, try to remain as cordial as possible so there's no friction at work. That one, don't get your honey where you get your money. Sometimes that's easier said than done.
I've never heard it that way, but that's hilarious. Yeah, I would overall recommend probably not finding your romantic relationships at work, at least not in the people you directly work with every day.
Right.
Maybe it works for some people. I just worked the other day with a husband and wife that I work with. They don't work in the same department all the time,
Mhm.
but we did an event together where we were teaching high school students BLS, and they were both there together because both of their jobs kind of touched that arena. So it was interesting. I asked her, is it awkward working with your husband? She's like, no.
Right. Yeah,
But they're on good terms because they're
yeah.
married still.
Right, right, for sure. And I think when you have a lot of the same mutual friends as well, or if you're dating someone that's friends with your sibling and they come to family get-togethers all the time, that would be hard on everybody, I think. the awkwardness of it that you two are no longer together, but everybody still loves both of you and wants both of you there. If you could just at least remain cordial in a way. I think I've been in situations kind of like that before, not so much on a really deeply involved romantic relationship, but more like a casual thing. You kind of started to date or talk and then it didn't work out. And then it's like you're still surrounded by all the same people and it's kind of awkward, but you're still cordial and it's platonic. And, you
Yeah,
know,
it really depends on, I think, how toxic the relationship was and how it
hmm
ended. I know that I lost good friends that were, well, that I thought were good friends because a relationship ended and they decided to be stay friends with, and you can't make people choose either. It's just whatever happens,
right.
but they remained friends with that other person, and because it was so toxic and we could not be around each other, I lost those people as friends, and that really sucked.
Yeah, that's really hard too. It is. I think everything happens the way it's supposed to, and it catapults you in a new direction. Sometimes the situations we're in are catalysts for something else. I also think that when you are with, like, if you were friends with somebody for years and then like platonic friends with somebody for years and never went there, and then all of a sudden you guys, start feeling each other. And then a couple months down the road, you realize, oh, we're better off friends. And then you just go back to being platonic friends. I've seen people do that before too. And so I think that's kind of cool and that can happen, but that would be
I
hard
think
in future relationships.
it can be, but I think that's one of the easiest scenarios to go back to actually being platonic friends because you
Yeah.
had this friendship for so long and maybe you both ended up single at the same time and you're like, well, let's try to date each other. And then you're like, oh, no, we are just friends.
Right.
I think it's so much easier to go back to a state of friendship from that as opposed to maybe someone that you only dated romantically and then you're trying to be
Yeah.
friends with them platonically because it's always like, does one person still want the other, you know?
For sure. And I do think it would be hard for the person, like a new person you're dating, like, hey, this is my best friend from childhood. We just kind of dated, but then we aren't anymore and we're now just friends. It would be easy for me to see the person's perspective, the new person you're dating's perspective to say, yeah, I'm not comfortable with that.
Mhm.
Would you be willing to let your friend go for your new
See,
person that you're dating?
that's the part where I feel the term friendship we have to use carefully because I feel like there's acquaintances, there's people, that when I
Correct.
was single and I was on dating apps, there's people that I went on a couple of dates with that are still on my social media. I don't consider them my friend because I don't have that deep connection with. They're just people that are on social media, but a true friend, someone that I love and care for and I truly see them as a good friend, that's different and I'm not going to give up my friends for the person I'm dating. Granted, if those friends are respectful of my relationship. So, if there's ever a point where that person that I may have dated at some point in my life is being disrespectful to my relationship or is trying to flirt with me or any type
Mhm.
of inappropriateness, then that is where they're overstepping the line. And then, yes, maybe that friendship needs to end. But if everything is respectful and platonic, and my partner is asking me to end that friendship just because I may have dated that person for a period of time, I don't know. That's a deeper conversation because then is that person really my friend or am I just keeping that person in my life for validation, Because
Yeah.
I think of a friend as someone who you really truly deeply care about. And those relationships aren't as easy to just throw away.
No, they're not. I think it's something somebody would have to ask their self. Like, I used to date this person, they're my friend. Okay, they're just my friend, but we talk every day still. We text each other every day. We maintain this consistent friendship, consistent communication. Well, now I'm dating somebody new and interested in somebody new. How do you feel telling your ex-lover that's now your friend, "Hey, just so you know, I'm dating somebody new." How do you think they'll respond to that? I think it's
And
a
that's
question.
yeah, and that's telling of the relationship itself. That lets you
Mhm.
know that there's more going on than just a platonic friendship,
Right.
I think.
And then would
If
you
you
feel
have to
comfortable
hesitate.
Yeah, and then would you feel comfortable introducing your new partner to your friend?
I think if they're truly just a friend, then yes. If there is hesitation there, then there is something more to that relationship.
Mhm. Yeah. I think it would be hard. I don't know, because a situation I was in, this person I dated had a few coworkers they actively still worked with every single day that they had dated, and they're like, "It was years ago, we're just friends and colleagues now." And they didn't really hang out or, do anything. I don't know, there was a couple inappropriate, I think, text messages back and forth that made me question the situation, but I never met them. I don't know, I think for me, I didn't necessarily need to know that they used to date these people. Would you wanna know? If you're and not just a friendship, would you want your husband to say, "Hey, I used to date these 2 women that I'm now working with. It's nothing, it's friends," or would it be something that you would worry about, or would you be upset about it later on if you were never told about it?
That so I've been in situations. I feel like I want to answer this and say I wouldn't want to know because it's not
Mhm.
relevant unless I suspected something. There has been a situation before where someone moved in with me and my ex, a girl, and she was living with us for a while. And it wasn't until like a few months into her living with us that it came out through a conversation that my partner at that time and her years ago had slept together.
Ooh, but she's living with you now. That's a bit much.
Yeah. So that was my first time hearing that. I was definitely upset at that time. I
Mhm.
loved this girl. Like, we were really good friends. She had never told me about it. He had never told me about it. So it was super awkward finding out because it was just the three of us sitting together. I think we were like talking about, I don't know, talking about people who had been together and it just came up. And I was definitely upset. She did stay living with us and things were fine and I didn't ever suspect anything between the two of them, but I was in that moment I was upset that like why she lives with us. Why is this the first time I'm hearing this?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's that would be a shocker.
Yes.
I don't know, I remember when I because he was very upfront about it at first with his whole work situation, which I should have questioned that whole thing because I also met him at work, so he's just, sleeping with hot nurses he comes across. But either way, so that should have been a question altogether, but I didn't need to know that because it wasn't relevant. And
And it
he
just
was
makes your mind wander.
It does, and he was very much so a past thinker, which also kinda triggered me to start thinking about the past, and you're questioning my past so much, maybe I should question your past that's right in front of your face every day.
Right.
So it was a lot of insecurities in that relationship, but I don't think when you're just acquaintances with people, there's not really I don't know, there's not really a need to know. But I think there's that fine line. Like if somebody says straight up like I want to know if you're surrounded by anybody that you used to sleep with. And I think that you should probably respect that. But there's also things that you don't necessarily want to tell right up front either. And how like there's that fine line, that boundary of what are you willing to share and give to another person that wants to know so much about you, you know?
Yeah, and I think those questions come up a lot in the beginning of relationships.
Mhm.
So, it's like if it truly is just a friendship, why am I going to sacrifice my friendship with this person to appease you who I just met? granted, you might see a lot of potential in this relationship or whatever it might be, but I think those are the conversations you have to have. And I think it's unique to, for me, being non hetero, it's funny to see, guys don't think twice about the girls that I'm friends with.
Right.
Girls. But they only think about the guys for some reason,
Right.
especially if they're hetero as well. They're like, "Oh, guys are the enemy." I have a long-term best friend that I have been friends with since childhood. Her and I, have had sexual relations, but we
Mhm.
are platonic friends and that's all we are. But guys don't see that as a threat, and I think that that's so funny. And it's
I
not a
think
threat because we are strictly platonically friends, but it's
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, men, that's something that they would be, probably turned on by. A lot of men would
True.
be, turned on by it too, so
Sure. They're like, they don't have the same equipment that I have.
yeah.
It is not an apples to apples comparison. But I do have I feel like people in the queer community are quite more open about
Mhm.
being friends with exes, and I think it is more stigmatized in hetero relationships for
Yeah,
sure.
I agree with that.
I also have friends that are polyamorous, so that's a whole different
Ooh, that's a
subject.
whole 'nother
Uh,
subject, yeah.
right. But
How
when you
would you
can like,
No, go ahead.
oh, I just think of like when you can see that other people can conceptualize the ability to not only be friends with other people, but to love other people while still
Yeah.
loving their current partner. I've always been interested in that idea, but like when I sit and I conceptualize it, like I don't think my jealousy, and I try to pretend like I'm not a jealous person, but when you get into that like deep amount of like sharing your partner with someone, I think it would be very hard.
Yeah, I don't think if I was ever willing to accept that in a relationship, I would not be in love with them or value them as much as they deserved, I think.
Mm.
I
Because
I'm
you'd have to detach yourself a bit from the
I
relationship.
would. I would, and it would bring resent, and if I was ever in a relationship like that, I think I would become resentful, and of course, I think it's human nature to be jealous a little bit in some ways. But I do think when it's just strictly, I'm with this person and I love them, and hey, I used to date this person and they're still my friend. There has to be a certain amount of maturity and security within yourself and in your relationship to, because you shouldn't just off your friends, especially for new relationships. I've done that with some guy friends, just off to them, and I could see why that person I was with was upset that I was friends with these guys, but I should have been more mindful. I should have been more honest about the friendships, and I should have been more mindful of what I was getting myself into and giving so much of myself to a brand new person and just releasing all my past friends that I had. That wasn't fair to them or myself or anybody.
Yeah, it
Or
definitely takes a like look at what that relationship really is, because when we're single, we might have some questionable friendships where there's flirting involved and
Mhm.
maybe not strictly platonic. And so then when someone comes in and they're like, "Oh, I don't like that you're friends with this person." I do think we need to stop and pause and think, "Okay, is this friendship respectful to me having a relationship, or is this person flirting with me or being inappropriate to where I need to try to set boundaries in the relationship?" And if that's not going to happen, then maybe that friendship does need to end because
Yeah.
it's probably a little bit more.
Yeah, what qualities are you gonna miss about this person if you do release them as your friend? And what did you learn from that relationship? This person that used to be your lover and is now your friend, what did you learn from it? Is there any friends have you ever questioned your partner's friends and asked them to stop being friends with these people or anybody?
It's very possible in the past. Like I've said before, I had a very anxious attachment style in the past, and I remember going through my ex's phone and deleting all the girls. But I've been crazy too, okay?
Oh, I've been there. Hey, I've gone through social media friends, and we don't need to be friends with any of these people anymore.
Well, and the issue I remember in a previous relationship, it was a girl that this my ex worked with, and
Mhm.
he was trying to start a clothing line, and he had pictures of this girl on his computer in underwear for the clothing line, so like little booty shorts, and I was like, this feels inappropriate.
Yeah,
So I definitely discouraged that relationship, but they work together. So like there's not much you can do about that.
right. I think that you would have to accept a whole lot from a person with in that kind of work, being in that kind of industry in general.
Yeah. I had another ex that was very much trying to be an influencer.
Mhm.
And he did not want to recognize the fact that he was in a relationship on social media.
I don't
And
like
so that was a
that.
red flag.
Mhm. Now I could see if you have your page and your page is like you've already formed your niche and
Mhm.
you are uploading every day with that, specific things that you're doing, whatever they may be. And then all of a sudden you do like this random video with a new significant other. I could see having like if you have a Facebook that's just for your friends and a TikTok that's just for your creativity, I think
Yeah.
that is appropriate in that situation, but if you're not putting your new person, especially if they wanna be put with you on social media, yeah, it would hurt my feelings too.
And I think I was just being very jealous in that relationship as well.
I think that yeah, I think that relationship probably you just deserve better and that's what you got.
True. Have you ever been in a relationship where it's been successful to have your partner that's friends with an ex, and like how did that look?
Like I already mentioned the last relationship, they had work colleagues they had been with. It did make me uncomfortable and insecure. Trying to think if I ever did. I remember, I don't know, in the past just finding out that they had been with other people and would be in the same friend groups. Like I was new to the friend group. I'm dating somebody new and I'm hanging out with all them and their friends. And then I find out, oh, you used to date and be with her and like she was a cool girl and we're, hanging out together because she's a part of the friend group. And then I did find out later on that, they had relations and it's kind of like you probably should have told me that if you had me in this girl's face and you dated her 2 years ago for like 2 years, it was kind of like
Hmm.
a shocker. But from what I saw with their interactions with each other, they were just friends. And I believed that. So I could see if I would have been told, it would have I mean, it did upset me when I found out because it came out,
Yeah.
I think mistakenly.
I
So
think it's helpful to give that information at least before you meet that person. So
mhm.
yes, it can skew your view of that person, and maybe you wouldn't have like thought she was so cool because you know,
Yeah.
because you're like, "Oh, she's been with my man."
Yeah.
But hopefully we can also look past those things as well. My husband, he just has a lot of friends that are girls. I don't think he's necessarily dated any of them, but I find it really I think it's helped to shape who he is as a partner. I think in the past I used to get super jealous like if a guy had friends that are girls, even though I've had guy friends my whole life, and again, I'm not straight, so either way, but it is it's interesting how we mature and we change. And yeah, I don't think twice about his girlfriends. I think it's great.
Would you be upset if you found out that he's got women on his social media that he used to be with in any kind of way that he's still friends with, or are you okay? You guys are pretty secure and not and mature about things, and
Hmm.
there's bigger fish to fry, I think.
Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
it upset you? Would you want him to delete
No,
people that he has been with before? Even yeah,
no.
that's
I
good.
mean, as long as there's no inappropriate conversations going on,
Mhm.
I don't think so. And
Yeah.
I trust that he would keep people respectful. I know in
Mhm.
the beginning of our relationship, I would like if someone would DM me, like it maybe is someone like that I had dated on a dating app and they were on my social media. I would show it to him and then I would just block that person.
Yeah.
Just trying to build trust in the relationship.
Yeah. I've definitely done that too. I do think that builds good trust. But I don't know, but then again, that was a big thing too in the past. Hey, if someone messages you, I want to know about it. I'm like, okay. And then it's like 50
Mm,
questions about the person that messages me. you know? So it's like
right.
if a random woman messages you that's insignificant to you, even if it was a brief encounter you had with them in the past, I don't care to know, honestly.
Mhm. Yeah. And I never, I mean, according to Jordan, he doesn't have girls hitting on him or messaging him. But I never ask for that. Like if someone messages
Mhm.
you, I want to see it.
Yeah, I don't care about
I
that.
don't know.
Well,
So I think overall, remaining friends with an ex is possible. I think this is one of those relationships where you just really have to make sure boundaries are set and not crossing those lines
mhm.
and determining, is this truly a friendship or was this something you kept lingering around to boost your own ego? But in a relationship, this would be an appropriate friend to have.
Yeah, and you'll find out if they're a true friend as well when you do enter a relationship and if they're able to handle that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you all for joining us today. You hope you have a beautiful, wonderful week. Find some rest and relaxation. We love you. Namaste.
Namaste.